Testimony of alleged victim Mia testifying under a pseudonym. There is a lot to break down with respect to her direct testimony, her cross-examination by the defense. Remember yesterday, she testified that she was verbally, physically, sexually assaulted by Sean Combs, goes to potentially forced labor as the underlying crime of racketeering. Remember, prosecutors have to prove at least 2 underlying crimes of racketeering. Forced labor is one of them. I also think her testimony goes to this pattern of criminal.
The name that caused the courtroom to fall silent was Janice Combs. And why may the testimony of someone once considered Diddy's right-hand man be the pivotal factor that takes the whole Combs family to its knees in the federal court this morning in Manhattan? Who exactly is Diddy's mother in this murderous empire? When the unexpected witness, once believed to be Diddy's fiercely loyal confidant, came forward with a suitcase full of documents, audio recordings, and long-buried secrets, her name Janice Combs, Diddy's own mother, was the real bombshell, not what Diddy had done.
Producer Tim Dog Patterson, he alleged that Janice, Diddy's mom, would often throw parties at Diddy's childhood home.
Rejuvenate you. She likes allegedly to have threesomes with her son. You know how you and your son play with my friend underage.
Formerly portrayed as a gentle old mother, Janice is now exposed as a cunning genius who operates in the background and quietly turned Sean Combs into a power tool who will do whatever it takes to establish an empire founded on wealth, brutality, and silence. Could it be that Diddy's mother was never seen as a threat by the general public? One layer at a time, the truth is emerging, and Janice Combs, who was previously just known as the defendant's mother, might now be the key to unlocking this explosive case's shocking reality. Was it an act of courageous disobedience for justice?
I've lived in fear for far too long. Diddy and his mother Janice backed me into a corner. They thought they could silence me, but today I'm here to tell the truth, the whole truth, no matter how painful it is. I'm not just doing this for myself, but for all the women they turned into pawns, the voiceless victims.
As a lady who was only identified by her pseudonym, Mia, took the witness stand, a heavy hush descended upon the courtroom, laden with the tension of an impending storm. Like a ticking time bomb, Mia, Diddy's dependable aide of 7 long years, stood there while whispers shook the audience. As a survivor who had seen and experienced the Combs family's deepest secrets for nearly a decade, Mia was more than just a witness. There she was, hands shaking, eyes steely. Her statement wasn't merely an accusation. Rather, it was a damning blow that pierced the Combs family's pristine facade and exposed a shocking truth. The music mogul Diddy Combs was the mastermind behind his criminal business, the true puppeteer, and the one who shaped Diddy into the monster he is today. Janice Combs isn't the helpless mother who weeps helplessly in the press. A cunning manipulator and nasty madam, Janice was at the center of a horrifying criminal network.
Made a comment saying that Diddy is not a monster.
Yeah, he's not a monster. She is. But I don't want to go there. But she is. She's the monster. Everything y'all fucking name. She's the monster. She created that. I don't want to go there. The fucking satanic behind all this, it's her. It's her, bro. It's her. She is his. I can't even explain it, bro. She just ain't no, she the devil, bro. That's how I see it. She the devil. Janice Combs is the fucking devil.
Janice Combs isn't just Diddy's mother. She's the cunning mastermind, the architect behind every heinous act. Diddy may be the monster in the public's eyes, but it was Janice who forged him, carefully steering him step by step into the...
His powerful testimony in court demonstrated, with frightening truth and deliberate brutality, that Janice was more than just a mother operating in the background. She was the linchpin and the very center of a criminal enterprise built on the blood and tears of young women. She personally chose the victims, who were driven young dancers with a lot of. She targeted the most impressionable, idealistic, and unskilled female assistants who were barely old enough to comprehend the ways of the world. With an agonized tone, Mia stated that many girls, some with only a middle school education, had nowhere to turn and were easily swayed by the glamour of Hollywood and the promise of a great future.
Modeling agency, but it wasn't a modeling agency. It was more a brothel. that she ran for high-profile drug dealers.
Beneath her glitzy facade, Janice was a strong lady and prosperous businesswoman who operated a prominent modeling agency that was heavily promoted as a breeding ground for up-and-coming photographers. However, the business was really just a sophisticated front for a global call-girl operation behind that glitzy facade. From major American towns to international entertainment hubs, Janice's network used young women as tools to satisfy the aristocracy's dark desires. With tears streaming down her cheeks, Mia described how the words felt like they were tearing her heart apart.
Diddy, those girls weren't human beings. They were commodities, carefully packaged gifts to be traded with heavyweights from powerful politicians and entertainment moguls to shadowy billionaires, all in exchange for multi-million-dollar deals or to solidify ties.
Diddy's infamous freak-off parties, which gathered girls from Janice's network, were not lavish affairs. Rather, they were brutal arenas where victims were made to endure grueling ordeals that lasted for days or even weeks. Mia told the story in a voice full of unsettling memories. Janice personally chose all of the girls for these parties carefully, evaluating each one's age, appearance, and demeanor to ensure that it aligned with the preferences of the VIP clientele. Because of their innocence, some girls were recruited, but others were forced to fulfill even more nefarious and terrible conditions.
There's a video of him and his mother. They're really talking about sex.
For every female, in Janice's opinion, was a pawn on the Combs family's power chessboard, strategically positioned to secure funds or protection from influential individuals. They sometimes paid extra for a female gift in addition to signing big contracts.
With the art of business, but to me it was unforgivable.
She personally oversaw every facet of the illicit business, from selecting victims and concluding deals to ensuring that no information ever spilled to the public, demonstrating Nicole's cunning beyond simply establishing the network. With her piercing gaze and withering smile, she managed everything like a master planner, turning young girls' dreams into certain nightmares while vanishing from sight. She made a move.
Speak out. Janice made sure they vanished, not just from the entertainment industry, but from the face of the...
Mia testified that what was even more horrifying was what was hidden behind the Combs family's extravagant mansion. Beneath the glitzy lights of extravagant parties, there was a terrifying secret that festered. In a captivity den where dozens of young women were detained under the direct supervision of Janice Combs. In the courtroom, Mia revealed that this den, which Janice called the warehouse, was more than just a cold basement. It was a prison underground where girls were dehumanized and used as tools to satisfy the evil desires of VIP clients whenever they wanted to. Mia remembered, and her voice sounded as if the memory were choking it.
Top down there, it was a living hell. A place where light, hope, and humanity itself were snuffed out.
It was impossible to imagine the cruelty of the basement circumstances. Constrained in cramped, gloomy rooms with cold concrete walls and the stench of mildew, the girls were fed just twice a day, usually a bowl of weak soup and a few slices of stale bread. Mia reported that tears were streaming down her face. Eating, too. Janice said they would gain weight. And clients don't want girls who aren't perfect. She didn't care if some of them were so thin that they were just skin and bones, with eyes sunken from starvation and misery, since, to her, they weren't human. They were just products that could be used whenever they wanted. However, Janice's cruelty went beyond merely denying the girls food. She also instituted a harsh control structure that ensured no girl dared to revolt,
complain or resist. Janice would personally appear, her icy smile and voice sharp as a blade, threatening that...
Because of her sophisticated demeanor and deft manipulation, the women held captive in this lair were mostly the victims of deceptive promises. Janice's seductive tales of celebrity create traps for the most vulnerable individuals, including middle school dropouts, orphans, and those fleeing abusive homes. Mia recounted, she dreamed of getting Hollywood modeling jobs and getting enormous shows, but once they stepped into her business, everything was taken away from them, including their freedom and identification documents, and they were taken to the basement, where their lives were never again theirs. Diddy's notorious freak-off parties, in which these women were dragged up from the basement, were not considered elegant events by the public. During these exhausting ordeals, which can last for days or weeks, the girls had to serve an endless stream of VIP clients, politicians, business magnates, and influential entertainment personalities, according to Mia and other witnesses, including Cassie Ventura. One female passed out after going 4 days without sleep or rest. Mia spoke, her voice shaking with anger, while Janice just stood. He went on to smirk, saying, "She's not worthy of the opportunity. She's too weak. I'm not sure what kind of stimulant Diddy's men would give the women, but it left them weak and dizzy, making them obey like marionettes on strings while serving VIP guests." Was portrayed as a perverted opportunity, a mirage made by controlling their victims. Janice and Diddy promised them that if they were lucky enough to catch the eye of someone powerful, they might be freed from the basement and given a better life. But in exchange, some girls had to be subjected to continuous physical and psychological abuse until their bodies failed them and they were too weak to bear it. Mia said her eyes were red and haunted. They were drugged to stay awake, forced to endure atrocities that no one should ever have to experience. And if they didn't want to, Janice would physically materialize with cold eyes and threaten to place them in the basement forever or worse, to make them vanish entirely.
I'm still haunted by the look in their eyes.
Mia recalled being sent to the basement to pick up the girls for their duties. Her voice faltered. They gazed at me with pleading eyes as if I were their last hope, but I was powerless because I was only an assistant, and I knew all too well that if I dared to resist, I'd be the next one locked up. Mia's admission of the brutality of the den in that basement made me turn a blind eye, and I will never be able to forgive myself for that. I lived in constant fear down there, torn between my conscience and my survival. Every step she took felt like a blade cutting through her heart, and I heard their faint sobs. Was not just in the appalling living conditions or the agony at those deranged freak-off parties, but also in the way Janice used those young women as commodities, monitoring them. Mia told each customer each girl's name, age, traits, and even value, treating them like inventory in a storehouse, and if a girl was ineffectual, Janice would dismiss her without hesitation, even if her calculating, cold efficiency had turned the Cohn family basement into a place where dreams were crushed and people were crushed underfoot. Mia brought a plethora of meticulously gathered evidence to the witness stand, along with her heartfelt stories, which were enough to quiet the entire courtroom in shock as she held a small, unobtrusive USB stick that held a plethora of terrifying secrets. In one clip, secret audio recordings the harsh reality of the family's illicit business. The voice, "If there is a leak, you know how I'll handle it, no mercy." Another tape captured her shrewd scheming as she ordered her son, her words dripping with calculated cruelty.
For the deal with him, she's got the look he's into. If he's pleased, that $50 million contract is...
Mia played 6 recordings, just the beginning. Every word in those recordings exposed the cruelty of the Combs pair, who viewed people as nothing more than commodities to be exchanged for money and influence. They worked for Diddy and recorded his shady interactions with high-profile clients, such as a strong woman whose name Mia withheld for fear of her safety, who is seen in one clip negotiating a young woman's present with Diddy. After departing the courtroom, another video stunned silence at a freak-off party. Janice was seen ordering employees to prepare lubricants, bed linens, and even drugs with terrifying accuracy. She didn't just know about it all, Mia said in a voice trembling with outrage.
Orchestrated every detail, from picking which girl would serve to arranging the deals so flawlessly that no slip-up could ever.
Mia's evidence was mostly based on security camera footage from the Combs family's lavish mansion. One eerie clip, shot on a dark night, showed a young girl, weak and trembling, being led by a bodyguard out of the hidden basement. She didn't dare cry, but her eyes were filled with fear. Mia stated that tears were streaming down her cheeks, and I knew she was being taken to. I was powerless to save her, and another piece of footage is said to have caused visible outrage. Judge Aaron Subramanian showed Janice at a freak-off party with a dim smile and cold eyes, telling staff to prepare everything like an event planner. But instead of a normal celebration, it was a cruel ordeal for the captive girls. Mia also showed several bank transaction logs that revealed that Mia spoke in a bitter tone of voice. The Combs family used their intricate financial network to conceal their illicit activities and launder money, which they called commission. 5 shell companies, including a fashion label, a music studio, and an event planning company, were set up with the sole purpose of transferring gifts, either in cash or in the form of girls, to powerful individuals in business, entertainment, and politics.
I once heard Janice boast about how one girl secured them a deal worth tens of millions. To her, every girl was just a number, a tool to bolster their power and pile up wealth.
Documents graphically portrayed a criminal operation founded on deception and exploitation, with their murky cash flows and fuzzy numbers. Mia supplied pictures of the messages that Diddy and Janice sent. Mia's voice trembled as she told her to serve clients the chilling commands by taking girls out of the basement. The Combs pair's obvious cruelty treating people like objects was evident in their refusal to talk or prepare female number 3 for tonight. There was a commotion when Mia provided a list of VIP clients who received gifts from the Combs family. But Janice was not just a participant. She was the mastermind, in charge of everything from how the girl would be supplied to how the transactions were concealed. The courtroom list, which Mia withheld for fear of retaliation, included powerful figures from politics and entertainment, who, she said, were not just clients but also part of the network contributing to the upkeep of that basement lair. A portion of security footage from the mentioned system showed a secret corridor down to the basement, where dozens of girls were held in darkness while they awaited their horrible fate.
Symbol of depravity. It wasn't just a place to confine those girls, it was where the Combs family buried their humanity.
A music studio might make millions of dollars for a deal, but the Combs pair's cunning went beyond using the girls as leverage through their shell companies. They established a sophisticated financial network to launder money and hide the source of their giant gains, with each transaction seeming like a legitimate business transaction. Together with the audio recordings and videos, these documents painted a horrifying picture of a criminal network that was operated with the precision and ruthlessness of a major corporation. For instance, a fashion company would record projects that never happened or use the funds for a marketing campaign that was actually payment to VIP clients.